Response videos. I don't do a lot of those. This one seems like a good one. Plenty of opportunity for jumping off of talking about points and a lot of stuff to correct. So let's give it a go, shall we?
I'm a non-binary trans woman, and I make YouTube videos about feminism and social justice and all sorts of stuff that interests me.
No, you're not. And I'm not just saying that to be a dick. I'm deferring to the expert opinion of other trans people on YouTube, like Blair White. You contradict yourself. Non-binary trans woman. If you're non-binary, then you're not a man and you're not a woman. So, what? And you're not making an effort. You don't really do anything to make yourself look feminine. You don't look more feminine than J random emo band member. You know, a bit of eyeliner does not a sex change make. Sorry. You seem to be the epitome, like Milo, of what people call a trans trender. And like I say, I'm just going to defer to expert opinion on the matter. That you just seem to be riding this for some reason. Who knows why.
So this is a scary video to put out there. I predict that 2 hours after this video is posted, the ratings will be okay, but 2 weeks after it's up, and the ratings will not be so okay.
But what are you scared of? So what if your ratings are low? That still means a lot of people have watched your video. So what if people disagree with you? That's not scary. I'll tell you what's scary. What's scary is people actually sending things to your home address to try and shit you up. What's scary is people going after your career, merely disagreeing with you, even abusing you online or in a YouTube video. That's not scary. Why would you be scared of that? That makes no sense at all. So fucking what? It is the internet. Everyone, this happens to everyone. Indeed, the rough and tumble of debate, the open marketplace of ideas, these are things that are appealing and even essential, in my opinion, to the internet. They are what makes it what it is, what it was, increasingly. It's what makes YouTube so vibrant, you know, that people argue with each other. And if someone is actually genuinely just being a dick, you can always block them and it's like they never existed. Poof! Gone. So what is there to be afraid of? Of course, the problem is you keep people like you, I don't know you in particular, so you, feminists, SJWs, you seem incapable of not conflating criticism with harassment and using that as an excuse to cut off any and all criticism of you. You need to stop doing that and you need to engage. This video is a great start. Let's see some more of this kind of thing, but let's see some actual debate. Let's see some actual talking to people rather than straw manning them. That'd be lovely.
And that's because there's a community out there on YouTube made up of viewers and creators who seem set on silencing anyone who talks about anything they deem too social justice-y.
Isn't that cute? But it's wrong!
Nobody wants to silence you. Well, some people probably do, but this community that you feel that you're up against does not want to silence you. Free speech is kinda our bag. What we want to do is to disagree with you, to point out where you are full of shit, which is almost everywhere. That's what we want. We want to argue with you. We want to debate your ideas. We see many of them as utterly dangerous to many key integral values of our society, of reason, of science, of discourse, of free expression, of free sexuality. We see you as a threat to these things and we want to debate you. We don't want to silence you. That's you projecting onto us. You know, nobody on this site is calling for you to be no platformed or banned from speaking at universities or to be taken off YouTube. The same cannot be said in the reverse. At all, can it? Come on, be honest. Be honest. Who is it who is calling for censorship of games, of comics, of books, of movies, of everything you care to mention? Who is it that is deplatforming people on universities and demanding that the whole grounds be turned into safe spaces? Who is it? It's not people like us. We're doing the opposite. We are trying to unsilence people. We don't want people fired for calling Clementine Ford a slut, because that's in their personal life and has fuck all to do with their professional life. Who is being silenced? Who is being marginalized? It's not you. You don't understand. You are the establishment now, and you are wielding the power to silence others. Grok that with fullness.
Kind of a specific group of YouTubers who are just known for like making angry response videos and kind of sending a lot of commenters to go to people's videos, feminist videos, to dislike them and comment and just like destroy their ratings.
Has it occurred to you at any point that people might disagree with you? And that this might be why they downvote your videos or comment? Sure, there are going to be trolls because you advertise your sensitivity. You know, you wear it on your sleeve. You wear it like a badge. You might as well have a big neon arrow over your head saying, "Here are my vulnerabilities. Troll me." But even so, most of these people who disagree with you find problem with what you see. What you are seeing is what you would call call-out culture. People see that you're full of shit. People see that you have dangerous, hazardous ideas, and they come to challenge them. Now, the people that make the videos do not generally, there are exceptions, ask people to brigade you. They link to your original video so that you're not being taken out of context, so that there's a source, so that people can go back and see that, yes, these bizarre, crazy people actually said this fucked up shit that I am debunking. You know? And it brings viewers to you, which if you're monetized means money. You know, it brings eyeballs, and it's going to bring people to defend you as well. So this is part of the cut and thrust, and it goes in the reverse as well. You get, you know, people coming after you for anything you say. I did a joke video talking about why I fucking can't stand horses, and I got brigaded by horse lovers. You know, it's not just this that causes these problems. And they're not even really problems most of the time. The actual trolls, the actual harassers, just fucking block them and move on. People who have genuine points, maybe stop, think. I do. I try to leave myself open as much as possible to people who contradict me, to people who believe other things. It's difficult with people like you because you block at the first hint of disagreement, but I keep trying because I want to keep being exposed to these other ideas. And if you come at me with evidence and a reasoned, logical, rational argument, then I will change my mind. It has happened before. I do not see this happening so much the other way. Again, there's a very few exceptions, but as a rule, no. People are disagreeing with you. That is it. That is the only significant thing that is happening. And that's a reason to argue, to question, to challenge your own ideas, and to hone them and strengthen them in the crucible of people's disagreement. That's how you know an idea is good, when it survives criticism. Is that so hard to understand?
It's almost like there's a threshold for them of social justice issues that are all right to discuss and support. There's general LGBT rights, sometimes binary trans identities like trans men and trans women, sometimes mental health advocacy.
Your threshold is things that make sense, things that have evidence, things that can be rationally and logically argued for, asked about, examined. Okay, all of those things are pretty much at this point about equality, or there's evidence for them. You know, there is some evidence. It's still a bit up in the air about differences in trans brain structure and things like that. So your threshold is things that stand up to scrutiny.
But anything above that threshold, like rape culture, trigger warnings, privilege, non-binary genders, Black Lives Matter, and definitely feminism, are not okay in the slightest to these people.
Because these are the things that don't stand up to scrutiny. We don't live in a rape culture. We live in a culture that condemns and hates rape to the point where a mere accusation will ruin someone's career and life for decades. Trigger warnings are bollocks. Even for people that suffer from PTSD, mental health professionals say that avoiding your triggers is no way to acclimate and overcome them. It is contraindicated by mental health professionals. privilege is a secular version of original sin. You are not only committing a semantic atrocity by trying to redefine privilege, you are using it to excuse your own bigotry and to marginalize and silence people. Right? That's why. It's bollocks, it's a redefinition of terms, and you use it like a fucking club. Non-binary genders, I think you're being a little bit unfair there. There's plenty of people that will accept that people are maybe perhaps a gender fluid or don't know quite where they lie. But then there's the trans trenders, people like your friend there, who just seem to be riding along on this like a trend. They're just confused. And a lot of kids and a lot of parents appear to be being harmed by this kind of bollocks that's going on. You need to back it up. You need to find something other than your relative personal experience to go on. And it does seem to be fucking people up, and it does seem to be causing problems. And furthermore, it is causing huge problems by delegitimizing genuine trans people. Black Lives Matter is, again, a complex one. There are problems with the militarization of the police in the US, but BLM seems to have been largely co-opted by black supremacists and other bullshit artists. It's unfortunate. It really is. And then you've got all these riots and shootings and other bullshit going on surrounding it. The people in charge of it are full of shit. When you start examining the statistics, you discover that the major dividing line in American society is not race, it's wealth and class. It's just that's particularly concentrated in the black community due to historical reasons, and because your society is so stratified and it's so difficult to progress socially up the ladder, that they're stuck there. But that's almost as true for poor whites as it is for poor blacks. Racism is far and away a small part of the problem compared to these other things. But racial issues divide people who should be coming together on wealth and class issues. And it seems like every one of these shootings, it turns out the guy was up to something, had a massive criminal record, was armed, that there were reasons to be cautious. But the media is this huge distorting lens that bends the light of events as it comes around it and distorts them into something else. Getting to the truth in this media environment is fucking difficult. And any kind of skepticism on any of these topics is treated as hostility, not, is this true? Shall we investigate? Let's find out. Is it real? What actually happened? These are all good things that are being demonized. Anti-intellectualism is not the province of the right.
That being said, largely the community that I'm talking about has strong associations with things like advocating for freedom of speech, atheism, championing logic and rationality, and if they have channels, most of the videos they make seem to be focused on ripping apart social justice advocates and their views.
Should this not give you pause? That people who are openly, brazenly, loudly in favor of civil liberties, deriving from free expression, that they take issue with you. That people who have previously spent years fighting nonsense coming from the religious community, that they take exception to you. That people who are devoted to logic, reason, and evidence, that they are looking at you and they are saying, this is bullshit. Should that not, even for a moment, for one tiny femtosecond, give you pause and make you think, maybe they've got a point. Maybe there is a problem with what I'm advocating, what I'm saying. Maybe I am causing problems. Maybe I am silencing people. Maybe I am everything that I claim to be against. Shouldn't that just for a moment make you think, make you question, make you improve your arguments?
For the sake of communication, I'll give this community a name. We'll call them anti-feminists. This is simply because while all their views differ slightly, a vast majority of them seem to have a major opposition to feminism, so anti-feminists it is.
I think it's important to enter some clarity here. None of this community are, well, there's always going to be exceptions, hashtag not all, but really, none of this community is against women's rights. Nobody is against women having the vote. Nobody really is against women going out to work. Nobody is against women having control over their own lives, doing what they want, dressing how they like, fucking who they please, and all the rest of it. So really, It's anti-modern feminism. It is this 3.5 wave Tumblrist nonsense and all the bullshit that goes along with it. I mean, like the wage gap. A nonsense that has been debunked so often, if it was an army base, there'd be nowhere for the soldiers to sleep.
If I find a better name later, I'll refer to them differently. Now, the real problem I have with the anti-feminist community isn't their views. I mean, their views bum me out, but there will always be people whose views bum me out. That's inevitable. The thing I really dislike about anti-feminists on YouTube is how strongly they advocate for freedom of speech, yet seem determined on silencing anyone they disagree with.
Views bumming you out is irrelevant. Is what you believe true or not? Is what we believe true or not? Where does the evidence lie? Can an argument be made on this side or that side? Which argument is strongest? Which one holds up to examination? Which one, as best as we can assess, is true? That's what matters. And again, nobody, #not all, wants to silence you. Indeed, a huge part of the problem that people like me have with this authoritarian, censorious, nonsensical, clerical 3.5 wave feminism is that it silences people. That's a huge part. For me, it's the main reason that I am against modern feminism and social justice warriors, because they want to control media. They want to control expression, because they have come after me for my expression. That's the main thing. Nobody wants to silence you. For fuck's sake, we wouldn't have stupid videos to respond to if you shut up, would we?
And they go out of their way to do it. They actively search for social justice advocates and then make videos devoted to ridiculing specific people. And it's my opinion, their critiques tend to be more condescending than constructive.
When you have debunked the same things over and over and over and over and over and over again, like arguing evolution with a creationist, it is very hard not to become condescending. Because surely the people you're arguing with have encountered these ideas before at some point. And yet they're still raising the same debunked points over and over again. And it gets frustrating. Do we seek out idiocy? Yes. People look for stupid ideas to debunk. They want to show that this is a real problem, and so they go looking for examples of it so they can hold it up to the light and say, look, people really do believe this stupid shit. Here's why it's wrong. And yes, there is mockery as well. Ridicule is the only weapon that may be used against unintelligible propositions, as Jefferson said. If your idea is so stupid, like flat earth theory or patriarchy theory in the feminist sense, what is there other than ridicule than to point and laugh? What else is there that one can do? You need something to grip onto with logic and reason in order to debunk. And when it's just assertion, when it's just stupidity, and when the people you're arguing with tend to fall into certain stereotypes, what is there other than mockery and ridicule? And these are effective social weapons, and they may force these people to try and back up their views, and it may force people to try and back up their views and fail, and therefore realize that those ideas are stupid and wrong. So yeah, it has value, plus it makes for more entertaining videos. And as you pointed out earlier, a lot of these people coming after this are atheists who spent a long time mocking and ridiculing religious communities because it's effective, because their ideas are ridiculous. And many of your ideas in your community are also ridiculous.
I feel like they pride themselves on it being a very logical,
Yes.
rational community.
Oh my god.
Well, what do you say to that then? Do you think they are in fact as logical and rational as they claim to be?
Absolutely not. So
This bit rambles on too long and makes the same point over again and again. But the gist of it is this. They're saying, no, you're not logical or reasonable. Offer no evidence to the contrary. And then they say that everyone has biases, which is true. But some people strive to overcome these biases. Some people learn logical fallacies. Some people try to intellectualize and distance themselves. And this is another big problem with the community that this video maker is a part of. They do not attempt to be rational. They do not attempt to be objective. Instead, they embrace their subjectivity. And this is why so much social science is trash, because it does not try to be objective. It does not try to control. You'll see people talking about their personal experiences and their emotions and their feelings about things rather than what's true. Now, while everyone may have a bias, at least one side of this argument is seeking to work against it. And they can point out the fallacies in what you're saying. They can point out where the facts are wrong. But rather than try to counter that argument with facts, you seem to retreat into this subjective bubble and to dismiss people who don't agree with you because reasons. And that's just not good enough.
The videos they make implicitly encourage their audience to go over to their target's channel and harass them. Their audience bombards the social justice advocates' ratings with dislikes. Many people have bragged to me in the comments about how they made multiple accounts, dozens of accounts, just so they could dislike my content several times.
This is the same point again, and again the answer is maybe people just disagree with you. Of course there's going to be trolls. You have advertised your vulnerability, which may as well have been sending up a flare saying troll me, but people disagree with you. People link to your video because they want people to see the original source and make sure that, you know, nothing's being particularly taken out of context or misrepresented and so on. These are all good things, and then people go there and they disagree with you. And you get trolled, but that's a separate thing. Don't mix the two up, okay? You're being disagreed with. Maybe consider why. I mean, honestly, consider why.
It's important to note that lots of these anti-feminist YouTubers have real power and armies of hundreds of thousands of people behind them.
Nobody has real power. It's words. That's it. You have the power of your rhetoric, the power of your logic, the power of the evidence that you can bring to bear. That's it. This brigading and stuff goes on in both directions. It goes on in stuff outside the battle between these two communities. It's nothing. No one has any real power here. Just words. The power to be convincing. That's where it begins and ends.
I've personally been specifically targeted by anti-feminists with millions of subscribers. When somebody with that much social influence goes out of their way to talk about just how dumb they think you are, it's scary. And the ramifications of their choice to do this are serious. As a direct result, my comment sections have become filled with threats, violence, and hate speech.
I refer the honourable member to the answer I gave some moments ago.
And you can't say they are simply exercising their right to disagree with me. It goes far beyond that. These kinds of audiences have even given themselves a name. They call themselves attack helicopters, and they do attack in droves.
What? I don't think you quite get what's going on there. Attack helicopters is a piss take of trans trenders. I identify as an attack helicopter. My pronouns are boom self, etc. No. What?
I understand that their actions aren't face-to-face, their attacks are just over the internet, but it's still harassment. I'll prove it to you. Comments I get on my Everything Gender video, a project frequently targeted by anti-feminists, go as follows. Trigger warning, incredibly graphic, and derogatory language up next. Am I the only one who would happily gun down any of the mentally challenged cunts featured in this video? This is the most cancerous, autistic, idiotic video ever. I sexually identify as an attack helicopter. Ever since I was a boy, I dreamed of soaring over the oil fields, dropping hot, sticky loads on disgusting foreigners. People say to me that a person being a helicopter is impossible and I'm fucking retarded, but I don't care. I'm beautiful. I'm having a plastic surgeon install rotary blades, 30mm cannons, and AMG 114 Hellfire missiles into my body. From now on, I want you guys to call me Apache and respect my right to kill from above and kill needlessly. If you can't accept me, then you're a heliphobe and you need to check your vehicle privilege. Thank you for being so understanding.
So you do know what an attack helicopter actually is. Of those, only the first one was trolling / harassment. The rest were criticism, not necessarily the best criticism, and the last one was mockery as criticism, but that's not harassment. That's calling you out for talking shit.
And it often goes beyond cyberbullying. One of my good friends, who's a creator, expressed having problems in their real life as a product of these anti-feminists. People at his school found the anti-feminist videos targeting him, and they used these videos as fuel to make fun of him IRL.
You're talking about Milo, who is another absurd transgender, but that's not how they related the story, at least as I recall it. Rather, that their videos were found online by someone in their school who used that as fodder to take the piss out of them. But then they've also expressed that they love freaking the mundanes with the way that they act and the things that they do, and you reap what you sow. It might be unfair, but them's the breaks, I'm afraid. I don't think it's a good thing. I'm not trying to victim blame here. I'm just saying this is what happens if you go out looking for a reaction. You will find one.
He also received threats before going to VidCon from anti-feminists.
You mean trolls?
Needless to say, my friend did not feel the safest at the con. Now, I imagine anti-feminist creators who see this video will say they are not responsible for the actions of their audience.
And indeed they are not. People are responsible for their own actions, unless the video creator has explicitly said, "Fly forth, my troll minions, and attack this horrendous moron. Go in my name and annihilate." Unless they do that, you have absolutely no basis whatsoever to hold them accountable for what other people who happen to stumble upon your video say or do.
Maybe I'm an idealist, but I'd like to hope we can live in a world where we disagree, but instead of having our audiences fight the fight for us, we can open our ears and minds and listen, learn, and discuss.
Your camp doesn't want to do that. They don't want to discuss. They don't want to debate. They don't want to admit that there may be even the slightest flaw in any of the things that they're claiming, and they don't listen when you do present flaws or counter-evidence or counter-arguments. They call it harassment, and they run away, and that's an end to it, you know? So if you want a discussion, have a discussion. There are plenty of people who are ready and willing and waiting to have those discussions. You just have to take them up on it.
I don't want to just complain, so I'll offer some solutions. I think we can work towards a better future by doing two things. When I say we, I mean everyone, feminists and anti-feminists. All people. Number one, explicitly tell your audience that you don't condone them attacking people you disagree with.
I'm not their mum. Their conscience is their own. There's no need to argue for this. They will do what they want to do anyway. I'm not going to be able to stop them. So whatever my feelings on the matter, and I do think they should attack you, I just don't think they should troll and harass you. I think they should attack your ideas. But they're going to do what they want to do anyway. So, yeah, that's where my responsibility really ends.
Number two, make videos responding to larger issues rather than specific people. If you have a problem with something, say trigger warnings or third wave feminism, make a video breaking down those concepts.
People do. But response videos, like this one, are useful. They give us other people's ideas that they're expressing to springboard off. They give us things to answer to. They give us things to interact with. They inspire and provoke reaction. You know, and that's a really good way of examining these ideas. You look at other people's assertions, you see where they're flawed and problematic, and you take them apart. Yeah, that's a really good way of doing things, and it creates a debate environment, which can be good for these sorts of things. Not always, but a lot of the time, you know, it's useful, it's provocative, and you can see people who are advocates for these crackpot ideas presenting those crackpot ideas, and then you can take them apart part by part. It's the video equivalent of fisking a blog.
Why go to all the trouble of finding someone who talks about these things just to mock them? Is it because it's more entertaining? Do you think it'll get more views?
Consider The Daily Show or The Colbert Report or any political satire or comedy commentary show at all. What do? They find politicians and public figures saying stupid shit, and then they mock them and tear down what they say. This is the same thing, the exact same thing. You have taken nonsensical, stupid things, you have said them in public, and then people come along to mock them for entertainment value and to tear them down because they're bullshit. It's the exact same thing. So if you have a problem with people making response videos on YouTube, you should have a problem with Jon Stewart. The Daily Show ended when he left. Come on. We all know it.
I think they have a very set values that they adhere to very strongly and like identify with very strongly, that, you know, there's no wage gap and trans people don't exist and stuff like that, and they want to defend those ideals, and they know that if they do it in this very inflammatory and aggressive way, that they will get views.
Yes, a lot of us have very strong core values, but what you described there was not core values, it was consequence of values. But again, most people, hashtag not all, are not denying trans people's existence. Trans trenders, yes. Trans people, no. But those core values, I mean, you didn't present core values. Okay, so let's just quickly examine one thing. Okay, so you mentioned the wage gap. It's not a core value to say that the wage gap is bollocks. Saying the wage gap is bollocks is a consequence of core values. Those core values being a devotion to logic, reason, and evidence. So, if we examine the evidence, is there a wage gap? Yes, but it's tiny and it's within the margin of error. Okay, so we've got the evidence. We can logically see from that evidence that this thing does not really exist in any meaningful sense. Okay, so we can reason that the people claiming that this is a thing are wrong and possibly are either ill-informed or have some other kind of agenda pushing this point. So the core value is logic, reason, and evidence. The result of applying those core values is the wage gap is toss. Another core value which is very common amongst us is a devotion to free expression, which we believe is probably the key, most fundamental human right that there is, because without expression you can't argue for other rights. So, with that being a core value, that would be why people oppose things like Anita Sarkeesian. Right, because she represents a threat to free expression not just in games. She's commented on other stuff as well. So because she is a threat to people's free expression, that's why they fight her. Because she cannot present a case for harm in any of the media that she attacks. She will assert one, but there's never any evidence, and indeed the evidence is to the contrary. So because, again, going back, we have these core values of logic, reason, and evidence, what does the evidence show us? And what's a consequence of that? A consequence of a devotion to free speech and the evidence that the cost-benefit analysis shows that being able to express oneself freely, to be able to consume media that entertains us, is pretty damn high, and that there's no discernible negative effect to this in virtually all cases, we dismiss your argument because you cannot bring evidence. You cannot back it up with logic and reason and evidence, and so we reject it. Those are the core values. Not what you're discussing here is the result of the application of those core values. It's not that difficult to understand.
YouTube has rules in the terms of service against harassment and bullying and stuff like that, and yet channels are allowed to thrive that are just built on harassment and bullying.
There absolutely are a few channels that are devoted to harassment and bullying. Most of them have pretty much fuck all to do with the anti-feminist community. They're just cunts who do their own thing separate to the rest of us, really. But here is the crux of the problem. You continue and continually conflate criticism, disagreement, and mockery of stupid ideas that you hold and express with harassment and bullying. These are not the same thing. And this is another reason why you run afoul of free speech advocates, because you continuously try to expand and expand and expand the definition of harassment, what you consider harassment. Oh, I consider myself to be harassed, so therefore I have been harassed. Yet we need some kind of at least slightly objective standard to work to. But disagreeing with you, saying you're wrong, even saying it in a vociferous and nasty way, you're fucking wrong, you mentalist. Yeah, that's not harassment. It's disagreement. And mocking you for holding stupid views is not harassment either. You know, and you continually conflate trolling with people disagreeing with you. Trolling, it's losing its meaning. Yeah, someone who disagrees with me cannot be a useful definition, as I think Dawkins put it. This is a major, major problem, and it is stifling free expression across social media platforms. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. People like you on your side do not seem to be able to handle disagreement. Or to handle it by blocking or muting people that disagree with you, even, you know, which would still allow them to express their views. Just, you would be insulated from it. It would be better if you would engage with people who disagree with you and stop trying to redefine it as harassment. But you won't, will you? You just won't.
And for those of you about to ask, no, I will not participate in a live debate with you.
Then your claims of wanting a debate, of wanting a discussion, of wanting respectful interaction with people were bullshit. Sorry, you do not have the courage of your convictions. You will not stand by your ideas and defend them. I'm not challenging you. Fuck, I've some 700 sub nobody. But there's plenty of other people that would happily debate you, and it would be respectful. You could talk to Sargon, you could talk to Bearing. I mean, people give him a lot of shit, but when he actually talks to people in channels, I find him very, very respectful. You could talk to Jeff Holiday. He's a lovely bloke with a lovely family. Yeah, he'd have a respectful debate with you. So why not? I mean, all right, not you, somebody else then. But it doesn't seem to happen very often. And when it does, you guys do not come off well for one reason or another. Maybe that's why you don't want to do it.
However, I am genuinely interested in your constructive thoughts, whether you disagree with me or agree with me, so please let me know them in the comments below.
I doubt it, because like harassment, constructive seems to have a very, very fluid definition.
Okay, bye!
Okay, bye!
Alright, let's try and end on something positive then, shall we? The most important thing that you guys can do is to stop conflating trolling and harassment, which is separate and distinct, from criticism and mockery and people coming at you for the stupidity of your ideas. Okay? That is the absolute most important thing that you can do. Secondly, you must be willing to defend your ideas with logic, with reason, with evidence. Nobody, hashtag not all, in this community cares about your feelings about something. They care about what's true and what's real. Our core values are logic, reason, and evidence. Okay? And most of us are what you might call cultural libertarians. I know that's a term that originated in Breitbart, but it's still a pretty good term. It's people who believe in individual freedom, as much freedom as possible for people, particularly in the cultural sphere, to do and say as they wish. And it's because you present a clear and present danger to those freedoms, and because you violate the principles of logic, reason, and evidence, that you find yourselves opposed, because you keep coming into places and trying to control them, to dictate to the people who exist within them, to censor, to change, to alter. And while you call it progress, it often isn't. You know? Free expression, for example, because it's the most important one to me, was extremely hard won. Any threat to that is not progress. You may claim to be concerned for people of particular identities, real or imagined, but controlling people's speech is an enormous step backwards. You know, the church didn't like being criticized. You know, it came up with a special term for it, blasphemy. And you're trying to do the same thing for your political orthodoxy. I may not like it, you may not like it, but far-right people are entitled to their views and they are entitled to express them. Anti-gay bigots are entitled to their views, and they're entitled to express them, in my opinion, right up until the point they actually cause harm. There's this thing called the harm principle. And you seem to be trying to redefine rhetoric as being harmful. Short of a direct call for violence, I can't see anything that would actually meet the harm principle that comes from speech. Otherwise, it's just people talking shit. Yeah, this, to reiterate one more time, this is why you're opposed, because you violate these base principles, because you cannot back up what you say with logic, reason, and evidence, because you threaten fundamental human freedoms. And when you come in for criticism, you compound that by using your abuses of fundamental human freedoms to redefine disagreement and mockery as harassment, to try and silence people, as an excuse to avoid criticism as well, even without getting people banned or suspended or whatever else. If you really want to improve things, if you really want to make stuff better, and I'm sorry, I do not think that you do, then you have to engage, and you have to engage in a useful way. Your feelings will not count for shit in this arena. You need to come with your A game. You need to come with evidence. You need to come with evidence that has been scrupulously collected, checked, peer-reviewed in the proper sense. You know, you need scientific evidence. You need to improve the quality of sociology enormously, because it's bollocks at the moment. It's just terrible science. Same with psychology. It's pretty fucking awful. And your theories from gender studies and so on do not stand up to scrutiny, but because they've existed within this self-referential bubble, they get a pass. You know, what's happening here is that these bad ideas, this motherload of bad ideas that is 3.5 wave feminism and social justice warriors, is being subjected to scrutiny. Real, honest, powerful, intense scrutiny for the first time, and it is being weighed, measured, and found wanting. If you want to improve your own arguments, you need to pass through this crucible of criticism, take it on board, acknowledge it, change your ideas where necessary, bolster them with new evidence where necessary, where it's even possible, and then maybe you'll get somewhere. This is a huge video, which is a great way to test my new internet connection, so fingers crossed it all works out. Peace out. If you like what I do here, please like, subscribe. You can find me on social media, on Twitter at Grimachu, James Desborough on Facebook, James Grim Desborough on G+. My main website is postmortemstudios.wordpress.com. If you want to help me out with a little money, which will go to support my games, writing, and other projects, you can do so at Patreon, which is also Grimachu.